Okay, so here's the deal. I am not an expert in the energy enhancement system. I am not a physicist, okay? And to understand the energy enhancement system, you need to be a physicist. I mean, to really understand it. It is quantum physics, okay? It is a quantum physics-based technology. So, I'm going to do the best I can. I was introduced to it in August. I was fascinated by what I saw, just briefly, and I decided to dive in and do as much research and learn as much as I can about it, and then bring it to Morning Star to share, because it is, the more I studied it, the more fascinated I became with it. So I'm going to dive right in. This is what I have learned since August. And living a life, so it wasn't like my full-time job to study this. Okay, energy enhancement system, science or supposition, okay? At this point in time, I've drawn no conclusions other than to say it appears to be, at this moment in time, as far as humanity's understanding of it, both science and supposition, okay? It is not a long-established field of study, but, oh, wow. This is from the website of the woman who created it, okay, who designed this device. And these are the things that her website, she's Dr. Sandra Rose Michaels, and she has some stuff on YouTube if you're interested in learning more. There's a little bit of stuff out there. I'm not going to say there's a lot. But it does everything, okay? It creates calmness and zen and oneness and peace and natural healing and rejuvenation, increased energy, release depression, makes you more emotionally free and clear, rapid post-surgical healing, improved inner direction, less attachment to past traumas, being more present, better response to stressors, detoxification, peak performance, better mental health, relief from severe pain, living in the now, improved existentially, that's a big one. Okay, improved blood profiles, mental flexibility, clarity, improved spontaneity, improved time competency, living more authentically, improved self-acceptance, sense of self-awareness, super learning states, self-confidence, self-love. So it's not just biological, okay? If you can read this, unless you are saying that all of these emotional states and states of awareness have a biological correlation. And we just don't know what's going on biologically when we're in bliss, okay? But we do know that there are things going on biologically. Okay, so is it a cause-effect, chicken or the egg? We'll still to be determined. Okay, the energy enhancement system combines body, mind, spirit, and science to help you achieve peak performance and reach higher states of health, consciousness, and self-actualization, again from her website, okay? The EE system uses scalar technology, folks, that's your quantum physics coming in, to return the body to its more original and appropriate electrical matrix, by helping to eliminate and nullify the effects of disruptive frequencies in the body while optimizing cellular energy. That's a mouthful, okay? But we're gonna scratch the surface, and that's pretty much it today. There also appears to be some form of interdimensional or high superscalar energy being generated. So when a person sits in a room with the EES technology running, their entire life force, their chi prana improves. Interdimensional, my personal experience after spending 30 hours 1 month in an EES room was I did have interdimensional, multidimensional experience, okay? Not everybody does, okay? But I did. And I tapped into what this man named Drunvala would call the fourth dimension, which is where thought manifests into form almost instantly. Okay, activated for me that connection somehow. In theory, this is tied to some extent to this idea of morphogenesis. And I got that from a morphogenic term found on one of the websites of a practitioner in the United States that uses this technology. And morphogenesis is the development of living organisms from a single fertilized egg into a fully formed organism. It was first described in the 4th century by Aristotle, but most recently by a man named Rupert Sheldrake. Morphic fields and morphic resonance are what shape a person's very being, physical and mental. Unlike magnetic fields or gravitational fields, morphic fields remain relatively mysterious. They're still in that new age, new cutting edge science right now. In theory, every cell and organ system within all living organisms is encompassed and surrounded by its unique morphogenic field, which is an encrypted guiding pattern, blueprint, and purpose for existing. Okay? It is its pattern. Patterns are everywhere. Patterns are fractal. It is a pattern. Okay? Morphic resonance, pattern, blueprint, purpose works through a cell's morphic field. These fields organize the bodies of plants and animals based on their unique vibratory blueprint. Morphic fields dictate the process by which cells regenerate and heal after damage to return to their natural blueprint, their natural state. However, sometimes for reasons unknown, cells lose contact with their morphic field and grow mindlessly, which is, they call that cancer. Some claim the EES activates these fields to return them to their original pattern. Okay? The energy enhancement system uses biophotons and scalar waves to do its job. First of all, I had to find out what a photon was because I didn't know, okay? They are the smallest discrete amount or quantum of electromagnetic radiation. This energy is released as a photon. They have zero mass. They only exist as moving particles. Their frequency determines their energy and momentum. They are bosons, one of 2 fundamental classes of subatomic particles. Those are only a few things that were listed. They are basically the smallest unit of light that we know of. They are light. Photons are just little light packets, okay? Biophotons are what scalar waves and EES say they affect. And biophotons are quantum-based light particles, they're photons, within our cells that communicate life-sustaining information in short, synchronized, quasi-periodic, there's a time factor there, bursts. Experiments have shown that the biophotons emitted from our cells are highly coherent energy that may be responsible for the operation of all biological systems. Their method of communication suggests that the light they emit may carry information that transcends space and time. And their coherence, that means they're functioning in a healthy, rhythmic, kind of organized way, may be influenced by our thoughts and emotions. Okay, this is where kind of this 4th dimension thing kind of kicks in a little bit. Not a little bit, but okay. Scalar waves or scalar fields or scalar energy, some call it prana and chi, okay? This is what I'm going to kind of talk about, its characteristics. I don't know what it is. It's not an it, it's not a they, but the characteristic of scalar whatevers. They occur in nature, they're naturally occurring, okay? Not just generated by EES, okay? They're naturally occurring. A nonlinear, non-Hertzian energy that travels faster than the speed of light and does not decay over time. Okay, get your mind around that. Okay, now what is that? Okay, good luck. If you can figure it out, come talk to me afterwards, okay, because I'm not entirely clear exactly what that means. Scalar waves are conceived of as longitudinal waves, as are sound. They're similar to sound waves. They're different from electromagnetic waves, which move up and down perpendicular to the direction of propagation. They are generated when 2 electromagnetic waves from opposite paths converge. Okay, so they're slamming these when electromagnetic waves slam together, okay, they create a scalar field or a scalar energy or a scalar wave. I see Danny nodding his head. He's like, she knows what she's talking about. Thank you, Danny. When these two vectors meet, the equal frequencies cancel each other out, leaving essentially no magnetic field. What remains is a static or stationary form of energy with zero frequency, a pure blank slate, a 0-point field. Energy only has magnitude and does not have direction. Hence, energy is a scalar quantity or quality, I guess. Okay, so energy is scalar, whatever. Again, we're talking physics, folks. Sorry about that. Okay. Quantum physics suggests that the collective potential of all particles everywhere with their individual 0-point energies merge into one universal 0-point field. The theories and scientific research in this area lay the groundwork for attempts to explain how brainwaves initiate transactions within the natural world, i.e., how our thoughts commingle with everything else and cause things to manifest in our lives. Okay? The more we look at this area, the clearer the God-science connection becomes. If thoughts equal energy and energy equals matter, then thoughts become matter. Okay. All cells generate electrical fields, and cells need the right amount of voltage to function well, but sometimes they need a voltage reboot due to the various forms of trauma that we experience in this world. Physical trauma, injury, psychological trauma as well, the thoughts into matter stuff. A healthy cell is 70 to 90 millivolts. A cancer cell is below 20. So if you can reboot your cells back to the 70, 90 millivolts, you know, they're going to be functioning. It's like getting a tune-up, okay, on your car. Optimal frequencies for human cell functioning and regeneration span from 7.83 to about 12 hertz, which are known as the Schumann resonance, which the whole planet, it's like a planetary health vibe, okay, frequency. The 0-point field of scalar waves initiates this reboot. It resets the electrical charge within cells, putting them into a balanced electrical state. The scalar waves are doing that. Okay, that's the scalar effect. Scalar fields can be generated electronically, magnetically, physically by the motion of a Mobius strip, which is an infinity symbol that is moving, or optically by the movement of phased patterns on a screen. EES computer screens use color therapy and satellite frequencies, which include optically induced scalar waves, produced by scrolling images that resemble encrypted messages and hieroglyphics. To create these computer-generated scalar waves, the EES screens must be aligned with each other using laser precision so those electromagnetic fields can slam into each other, you know, appropriately. This is what a typical room at a treatment center looks like. You'll have a six-panel thing, and there'll be 4 of them, and they'll be directed at each other. Okay, so they'll be across, you know, so there's only 2 seen here, but there are 2 more that are, you know, being directed towards these guys in the corners of the other corners of the room. The EES fluctuating optical patterns scroll continuously up and down the screen in a sine wave sequence that resembles the 12 strands of DNA. It's believed that the scalar energy field generated by the EES technology supports the coherence or the organized operation of biophotons and the morphic fields of our cells and DNA. Again, biophotons are quantum-based light particles within our cells that communicate life-sustaining information in short, synchronized quasi-periodic bursts, and morphic fields is the cell's encrypted guiding pattern, blueprint, and purpose. So resetting those, okay, it's a pretty big deal, right? Like, that's you know, like, wow. Okay, so here is, I took a picture of the screen at the place that I went to, and the screens are different colors. Like these two, the first and second screen that I got, are pretty much the similar colors and moving in a similar way. But the others, they're different. Each screen is moving with different colors at a different rate, using different. So I don't know what's happening behind the scenes on this. How that's being generated and what's causing it to make these patterns. But that's what's happening. I had personal experiences after spending 30 hours in a room. I have some friends who spent, a little time or a lot of time in the room. And one of my friends knows several other people, so she told me some of their stuff as well. These are actual experiences that I and other people that I know have had. Stroke symptoms, one person had a stroke and was having to use a walker and a wheelchair to get around. After spending a significant amount of time, something like 90 hours, almost living in a room, he walked out. Okay, he walked out of the treatment facility. Blood glucose levels are lowered. There are various people who have reported this. I am one of them. For 3 or 4 years, I would go to the doctor, get a blood panel done 2 to 3 times a year. Every single blood panel would come out that my blood glucose level was at 100. And it just stayed right under the pre-diabetic, but at the top of the normal. And, my doctor, wanted it lower than that, we never could get it lower. I tried diet, I tried, all kinds of stuff to get it lower. Wouldn't drop. It's fluctuating now. It fluctuates, but it's 76, 77, 92, I'm like, wow. So whatever is happening when your body is processing glucose, my body is doing that differently than it used to, and it's low. Like 70s that's pretty darn low, okay? So, and I just took it the other day, and it was 75, like 3 days ago. Blood pressure is lowered. I have a sort of high blood pressure that is on pharmaceuticals, and it has not affected my blood pressure. But other people, it has, okay? A woman had Lyme's disease in her legs. It had settled in her legs, and her treatments eventually minimized it, but she noticed actually during the sessions that the energy congealed. It just went to that part of her body where the Lyme's disease had settled, and she could feel the energy, like she said, it was like worms kind of crawling around, and it made, and it became kind of like a liquid, but she felt something in that area while she was in an EES room, okay, experience. Rapid manifestation of emotionally charged thoughts into real-world experience. This is the fourth dimension thing that I had. My first 2 sessions in there, what I thought about and talked about immediately after leaving or during the session, within 24 hours, I was having a real-life experience of that. It was 24-hour turnaround. So it energizes the law of attraction stuff, synchronicity, coincidence. Those are all, when you're talking about manifesting from thoughts into the real world, what you're doing is your law of attraction. It's stuff that she talks about. And you're aligning up with whatever it is that creates synchronicity and coincidence. So all of that is kind of in that manifestation formula. Some people experience an unpleasant increase in symptoms and discontinue their sessions because it's so unpleasant, Some people initially experience an increase followed by a decrease in symptoms if they continue. A friend of mine did that with vertigo. She had pretty significant vertigo, severe episodes, and had them frequently. And she, after spending some time in an EES room, her vertigo the following day increased. It got worse, and then she went back, and the next time and during the session, she had a vertigo experience, okay? But during the session, the second time she went back, the vertigo was less. And then the after effect was less. And now she says overall, she has far fewer vertigo episodes, and the ones that she has are mild. So, those are personal experiences of myself. And then if you go online, you hear testimony after testimony after testimony. I mean, the internet is filled with people and videos and YouTube things that talk about the individual experiences. So there are 2 centers where you can have this personal experience within driving distance. If you want to call Northwest 122nd and MacArthur driving distance. For me it is, because I live in the city. But there's also one in Norman, okay? So for those of you who live in Norman, it's close by. They are slightly different in how they manage what it is you are allowed to do during a session. Like the North Oklahoma City session, they let me take my laptop in and work on my screenplay. Okay, they let me, have electronic technology. It's my understanding that the Norman is a little bit more conservative in that area, okay, as to what you can have with you during a session, what electronics can be on. But people in there are sitting in there and they're using their cell phones and they're reading their emails and they're texting while they're in the session, because their sessions are typically 2 hours long. Mine were all 3 hours long. And I always had an MP3 player going on in my head the whole time. I was listening to Deepak Chopra's talks on synchronization, synchronicity, synchrodestiny is his title, or I was listening to music, soothing, kind of melodic, kind of celestial, kind of new age stuff. But the 2 places are available. It's not cheap. Okay, it's not cheap, but it is available, and that's the end.